Diddy hosted what he called freak-offs, parties so brutal that the young men and women would sometimes vomit and pass out from being drugged. They would be beaten. They would be raped. They alleged that Diddy filmed it.
We also know that the nickname Puffy comes from this temperament that he has, that he's a kind of guy who is easily angered, and when he gets angered, then he huffs and he puffs, and so people start to call him Puffy.
We're not dealing with a normal person, and the person that actually did the abuse is somebody who's powerful.
It doesn't seem good that Diddy is now dealing with so many problems. The latest security footage that allegedly shows him acting violently with Cassie isn't helping his case, and more lawsuits are mounting.
It was so hard for me to watch, and I cried for days because I just couldn't believe that man was physically abusing her.
It seems like every time he feels like he's escaping the spotlight, another bombshell gets dropped, and people start to wonder how long he can keep playing defense, because this isn't the first time he's done it. As the stakes are higher and more victims are coming forward, the evidence is growing, and just when you think it can get any stranger, it does. Diddy has been evading punishment for years. Diddy is finding it harder and harder to remain calm in the face of all of this. New film has surfaced, new lawsuits have been filed, and this train catastrophe will eventually blow up. Since this isn't going away anytime soon, he may want to start developing a solid defense. Here Comes 50 Cent is making fun of the whole thing by releasing a documentary that will reveal all the personal details. This is going to be the most talked about program of the year, and Netflix is all in. Diddy's argument is harder to uphold as more individuals come out with their testimony. None of the accounts from those who have known him or have been at least somewhat engaged in his life and profession paint him in a favorable light. To be honest, it's starting to seem like a real-life Netflix documentary series as the number of individuals coming out against Diddy continues getting longer. English isn't holding back when it comes to Adria's interactions with Diddy. This is one of those stories that seems like it should have been a fun night out, but ends up being much worse than anybody could have imagined. English, who reportedly went to 3 of Diddy's parties, explained how things worsened as she continued to show up. "I went to 3 different parties, and each time it just got worse," she added. When most people receive an invitation to a celebrity party, they don't exactly sign up for that. However, every new gathering appeared to put her in a more precarious position. English's tale is about more than just one awful night. It's about the sort of atmosphere Diddy may have created where the party wasn't as glitzy as one would anticipate. From one of the greatest names in the industry. She said it seemed like I was just there for amusement and nothing else, like I was being used for something. It's hard to wake up to that after having a party with one of the world's most powerful individuals. Let's discuss April Lamprose, who has emerged as one of Diddy Lamprose's most outspoken detractors. JP has accused Diddy of recording her without getting her permission. Give it some time to sink in. Consent is important in today's world. And the fact that she is saying this occurred shows how much influence Diddy may have tried to have over others. English gave us the idea that her time with Diddy was marked by power struggles and manipulation, even if she didn't go into every detail. Lamprose said, "I was in a situation where I was being recorded without my permission, and that's not okay for someone in his position." When someone like model and actress Lamprose speaks out, however, it's not about a single event. Rather, Lamprose is emphasizing that this was a purposeful invasion of her privacy rather than an accident or mistake. Consent is more important than ever in the present environment, and Diddy's reported behaviors are everything but courteous. Next on the agenda is Rodney Jones, a former Diddy associate, who has made his own disclosures. Jones isn't scared to discuss Diddy's impact on his career, despite the fact that it's not in a good light. We often see Diddy as a commercial tycoon who amassed an empire, but Jones asserts that Diddy's contribution to his work extended far beyond music production and career management. According to his description, it wasn't just about work, it was manipulation. Jones said that Diddy's company was more about Diddy making choices that were more about control than creativity, and less about assisting others in their ascent. This raises the question of whether Diddy's treatment of others in his life, whether in business or personal connections, was typical. "I'm telling you, it must be stifling." Jones said, "It wasn't about cooperation, it was about Diddy's way, or the highway. Being around someone who lives on control may be challenging at work, particularly if you're just trying to find a job and go forward in life." In addition, it raises the crucial issue of how many other individuals have interacted with Diddy and been subjected to this sort of deception. Then there is Delight Dickerson, who has drawn attention as a result of her own charges, as Dickerson has come up about Diddy's claimed efforts to disparage her, particularly in the workplace. We're hearing this theme of control and manipulation once again. It wasn't about working together, she said, and it seemed like he didn't regard her as an equal. Since I'm not that sort of woman, and he can't simply walk all over me, I wasn't going to allow him make me feel inferior. However, Dickerson's experience is not unusual. Many individuals who have dealt with Diddy have had similar emotions about feeling that he was using them as pieces in a game. I have no qualms about speaking out about it. This kind of approach is quite pleasant, especially after hearing so many stories of abuse or contempt. Diddy finds it harder to defend himself when more people come out since the tales are mounting, and in spite of his earlier denials, they are still gaining momentum with individuals like Adria English, April Lampros, Rodney Jones, and Joy. Dickerson's defiance of quiet is just one more example of the increasing number of individuals who aren't scared to speak out for themselves, even when doing so puts them in direct opposition to Diddy. Many individuals have interacted with Diddy personally, and they aren't holding back, despite his best efforts to deny these things. As more victims come forward with their tales and lawsuits pile up, it's evident that the tide is shifting and Diddy is no longer the untouchable mogul he once was, regardless of whether these stories lead to legal action. It is evident from Dickerson's statement that Diddy's reputation is being severely damaged. People who have seen and experienced the darker side of Diddy's business are speaking out in support of him, and it's becoming difficult to ignore what they have to say. Will Diddy be held accountable? We're going to go into the Jane Doe case, which is quickly becoming one of the most important and unnerving parts of this whole narrative. If you thought Diddy's predicament couldn't get much worse, you need look no further. If there was ever a moment when things became worse, it's now. So let's start with the basics. Diddy is accused of engaging in very dubious and maybe unlawful activities in the Jane Doe case. The unnamed lady has come forward to claim that Diddy treated her in an absolutely appalling way. The matter is still ongoing in court, which is proof that the problem is severe and the specifics are unsettling, remains unresolved. The Jane Doe case is particularly disturbing since it contains serious accusations of manipulation and a long history of abuse. Rather than just a he said, she said situation, Diddy allegedly crossed a number of lines by controlling Jane Doe with his power and influence. Psychologically, physically, and even legally. The allegations portray a man who not only exploited his wealth and notoriety to further his objectives, but also to manipulate and threaten others around him. But the aspect that really takes this case to a new level. As the case progresses, it's becoming more and more clear that the pattern of conduct outlined in Jane Doe's accusations is not exclusive. Rather, it's a component of a broader picture of Diddy's operations over time. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's return to the initial cause of this whole allegation storm, Cassie. No, we're not only discussing their well-publicized split, although if it was definitely a difficult time in and of itself. When Cassie filed for divorce from Diddy in 2018 after a 10-year romance, it significantly paved the way for these accusations to gain traction. Although it's unknown how much Cassie first disclosed in public, it's widely believed that her split was Diddy's first vulnerability. Refined public persona. According to individuals close to Cassie, she talked candidly about the emotional and mental toll the relationship had on her. The impact of Cassie's departure from Diddy's life cannot be ignored, even though it's impossible to pinpoint exactly how it all happened. Soon after, more people started to come forward with their own versions of events, revealing a pattern of Diddy behavior that was far more toxic than anyone could have predicted. Did he have complete influence over Cassie's life, including her professional and personal decisions? She was caught in a vicious circle. She was not permitted to decide for herself. There has been a lot of conjecture on whether Cassie was the one who formally initiated this series of events. Did she disclose to others what transpired behind closed doors, or did her breakup serve as the impetus for the other tales to surface? As more individuals tell their experiences, we now go back to Jane Doe. The mighty empire, as Diddy once called it, is starting to seem more and more like a house of cards. We've heard that the Jane Doe case is among the worst of the bunch, and some of the details are really damning. While Jane Doe's case is still pending, the complaint alleges that Diddy not only misled this lady for years, but also used his influence to threaten and silence her when she attempted to leave or speak out. This accusation is made in light of every new disclosure that exposes cracks in the mogul's formerly invincible image. It's already starting to draw attention from those who think Diddy's actions go much beyond what has been made public. It's one thing for a former lover or associate to come forward with their grievances, but when several women share similar stories, it becomes much more difficult to deny that something seriously wrong is happening. What's even worse is that Diddy's story isn't about a single incident. Rather, it's about how he allegedly treated people over years, treating them like pawns in a game where only he had the winning hand. If we take a step back, it's not just about what Cassie disclosed or what Jane Doe is accusing him of. These accusations point to a troubling pattern that extends far beyond his relationship with one person, including emotional manipulation and control over people's careers. The risks. It's clear that Diddy's image is at stake as the Jane Doe case develops and more individuals come forward. It remains to be seen whether he will be subject to legal action. This is about a guy who reportedly abused his position in the business to harm others for years, not about a celebrity being a lousy relationship or lover. He can't deny that his actions could have been far worse than anybody thought now that these reports are being made public. The ramifications of this are far from ended. In addition to Diddy specifically, these charges are bringing into question the entertainment industry's culture of power and influence. The way Cassie's charges seem to have sparked the whole controversy suggests that one breakup, one lady, and one act of rebellion sparked a chorus of voices that revealed the evil side of the guy who once seemed to be impenetrable. Given Diddy's extensive involvement and the difficulty of leaving Diddy's white parties as more information becomes available, we can only wait and see how this develops. This story is far from done, and it will only get more complicated over time. Diddy's reputation as the greatest party host and performer has long been based on his famous, huge white parties. Despite the fact that it sounds like a scenario from a music video, there has been more debate over time over the true events that took place behind closed doors, and it's not all glitter and glitz. Mogul's lavish saris were the pinnacle of luxury for years, and the top personalities in Hollywood, fashion, and music would gather under the glamorous stars dressed in all white, drinking champagne and having a good time. Some whisperers argue that there was more to the white parties than meets the eye, despite the fact that they were adorned with sparkling chandeliers, champagne fountains, and famous entertainers. Rumor has it that Diddy's well-known parties included a lot of questionable conduct in addition to the lavish decor and A-list attendees throughout the years. Diddy was reportedly not bashful, and there have been previous claims that he utilized these events to exert control and authority over his guests, about making sure that everyone knew who was in charge throughout these events. According to several reports, visitors often experienced feelings of intimidation or uneasiness, as if they were being observed intently or perhaps coerced in some manner. Imagine what it must have been like for those who were less well-known at the events, given that we are discussing well-known individuals in the profession. Of course, there are also tales about Diddy's picky guest list, with some conjecturing that these gatherings were less about having fun and more about asserting power. Could Diddy have had covert plans to influence events behind the scenes or build relationships with powerful people in the business? For someone in his position, using social events to achieve personal or professional objectives would not be the first time. Unfortunately, these gatherings gave rise to a variety of rumors, many of which suggest more sinister and domineering conduct. We cannot dispute that some of these parties have been brought up in connection with the accusations, bringing up some of Diddy's recent legal troubles. It's easy to assume that some of the tales no longer present these gatherings in a very glamorous light, even if it's unclear precisely what happened at each party. What was previously just about laughing and having fun with celebrities is now being seen through a much darker lens now that people are talking about it. Whether it's the way Diddy reportedly utilized these events have garnered a lot of attention because of his capacity to control others within his sphere of influence, or because some participants say they were placed in strange or uncomfortable situations. Given everything that has come to light regarding Diddy's previous relationships and his alleged treatment of women, it's hard to rule out the idea that his white parties served as a setting where guests felt pressured to keep quiet, project a particular image, and never really inquire about what was happening behind the scenes. What once seemed to be an exclusive night out on the town now seems like a part of a much bigger tale where the true atmosphere in the room could have been one of power abuse and manipulation. There's a lot to examine, especially as more people share their stories. Even Diddy's most private events seem to be under more scrutiny than before, now that he is in the hot seat. As we think back on these special occasions, the fun and sparkle start to fade and are replaced by a darker, more complex picture of what these parties might have actually represented. These parties, which were once considered the height of the high life, are now part of the conversation about how fame and influence can be twisted. It's becoming evident that what seemed to be harmless, lavish celebrations on the day Diddy, the music mogul and business titan, was arrested might have been much more sinister than anyone could have ever guessed as more and more people come forward to describe what truly transpired when the cameras weren't rolling. The fascinating part, however, is that they carried out a full-scale home raid rather than only ringing his doorbell and speaking with him briefly. We are discussing Diddy's $40 million home. Could you imagine the cops just walking inside that massive palace of extravagance and luxury? They were there to find proof, especially to investigate the accusations that had been mounting against him, not to admire the artwork or the gold-plated furnishings. They were searching for evidence to back up the charges against him, according to a person familiar with the matter. Accusations of misconduct were no longer only rumors. They were backed up by facts and quotes from credible sources. In essence, this home raid was an indication that Diddy, who had spent years establishing his empire, was now being caught by the authorities. Having his home searched was a wake-up call for Diddy, who is known for keeping things tight. I take it he's used to being in charge. For decades, he was the life of the business, throwing famous parties and earning millions of dollars. But these days, not so much. It's difficult to believe that the guy who used to host Hollywood's most lavish and well-publicized parties was suddenly in trouble with the police. Here's the tea if you're wondering how bad this problem is. Not only are past allegations the focus of the inquiry, but the authorities also sought concrete proof that Diddy had threatened or committed crimes. When you think about it, this is very serious stuff. Diddy is not like other CBs. Fans and pundits alike couldn't help but question whether this is the end of an era for Diddy as his team scrambled to cope with the fallout. This man has influenced pop culture, music, and fashion over his years in the spotlight. According to a legal expert, this is not a situation where you can just sweep things under the rug with everything that's come to light. The pressure is on. But let's not forget about the sheer drama of it all. Diddy is renowned for being untouchable, and while he has previously had some run-ins with the authorities, they have never appeared to last. Might things be different this time? Considering how comprehensive this study seems to be, it may be. This is Diddy, who started Bad Boy Records, had people all over the globe dancing to his music, and hosted extravagant events that went down in history. It's like seeing a show unravel in real time as you witness him go from hosting parties to getting arrested and raided like this. One minute he's having the time of his life, and the next he's in the news for all the wrong reasons. The timing couldn't be worse. A home raid happens just after Diddy believes he may have escaped the greatest bullet of his life, and it seems like the cosmos is watching him all the time. He spent decades cultivating this image of dominance and luxury, but it seems to be disintegrating with each news story. You nearly heard the industry's collective gasps when 50 Cent, in his usual brash style, announced that he was working on a project that would expose Diddy. 50 Cent is well known for his boldness and his unrestrained style of delivering shit. I have all the facts for a huge documentary I'm working on for Netflix that will expose 50 Cent. He made a suggestion that he had receipts. But the worst part is that more people are coming forward with their own stories and allegations, he said. Sources with knowledge of the situation claim that Diddy's alternatives are becoming fewer and fewer. He can't keep avoiding the truth forever, particularly when 50 Cent and other well-known individuals are involved. It's one thing to have murmurs and rumors, but Diddy can only do so much to stop it all when there are prominent figures or influential individuals involved. This is going to be a big affair, since I already have people that want to speak. In order to generate a whole new wave of voices that the mogul will have to deal with, 50 Cent is aggressively seeking out people who have their own issues with Diddy. He isn't backing down. Diddy will not know what hit him. 50 Cent boasted. It's like a snowball effect, he said in a recent interview, when one person stands out and others do the same. It will undoubtedly get a lot of attention when someone like 50 Cent is leading the way, and Netflix is just waiting for the ideal moment to enter the market. Whatever this series or documentary is, it has the power to transform everything. This would be the moment Diddy had to face his history. Even though Diddy is a millionaire and a powerful figure overall, the worst aspect about all of this is that if 50 Cent delivers the bombshells that everyone is waiting for, he may not be able to ignore it. Diddy can no longer evade the charges, particularly with 50 Cent also involved, and it seems like the walls are closing in on him as the weeks go by. The real question is whether he can handle the strain or whether this is the moment when his empire starts to collapse. It's hard to say how much more will come to the surface in the mix. Either way, we're all just here, popcorn in hand, eager for the next big surprise. Since everything is happening so publicly, which just makes it more juicy, we're all watching the Diddy saga, the hottest show on TV right now, in anticipation of the next major revelation. It's clear that 50 Cent has his sights set on Diddy because people are waiting to spill the tea while he's ready to strike first. This will be far bigger than anybody could have predicted if the rumors are true. Diddy is forced to confront the truth, whether he likes it or not, in light of all these new allegations, movies, and people sharing their stories. Is Diddy's prison sentence imminent? That's the real problem. Kindly provide your thoughts in the space provided for comments below. We value your attention and time. We have selected more films just for you. Please view them. Until the next one, see you.